Welcome back to Factual America, the channel where we dive into key issues affecting our nation, always with facts, integrity, and a healthy dose of common sense. Today's topic is one that strikes at the core of our civilization: trust. More specifically, the public's ever-eroding trust in the medical establishment, a subject that's no longer a hushed conspiracy, but a headline in households across the country. If you care about your family, your rights, and our future, you'll want to watch this all the way through. Let's set the scene. Decades ago, the white coat was a symbol of assurance. Doctors were heroes, pillars of our communities. Hospitals, meanwhile, were homes of compassion, the final line of defense against sickness and suffering. Yet fast forward to today, and that trust has been shattered for millions of Americans. How did we get here? Why do so many now doubt the intentions and even the competence of medical authorities? And what are the consequences for our society as a whole? Consider the phrase, follow the science. It used to mean following evidence, valuing debate, and seeking truth. But increasingly, it feels like follow the science means obey without question. During the recent pandemic, we watched health policies change on a dime. Masks, lockdowns, vaccines, then boosters, then still more boosters. Each change was delivered as gospel, until the next update replaced it. Those who dared ask questions, even credentialed doctors and scientists, were smeared or censored as misinformation spreaders. Why? If the science was truly settled and transparent, why the crackdown on dissent? Healthy skepticism suddenly became taboo, a dangerous precedent for any free society. Let's dig deeper. Remember the opioid crisis? For years, pharmaceutical companies assured doctors and the public that their new painkillers were not addictive when used as prescribed. The result? An epidemic of addiction and death, devastation for countless families, and lawsuits that led to record-breaking settlements. Did anyone in the establishment truly take responsibility, or did they just move on to the next big product? Maybe you recall the food pyramid. Approved and promoted by government health agencies for decades, it encouraged Americans to load up on carbohydrates. We now know this advice was heavily influenced by lobbying from the sugar and grain industries and played a major role in skyrocketing obesity and diabetes rates among both children and adults. Who was held accountable for decades of poor dietary guidance? Let's not forget the infamous Tuskegee syphilis study, perhaps the darkest chapter in American medical history. For 40 years, African American men were denied treatment so researchers could study the effects of untreated syphilis. This wasn't a mistake. It was systematic, government-sanctioned betrayal, and its legacy of distrust still echoes today. You might be asking, but isn't modern medicine better today? Haven't we learned from the past? Unfortunately, recent events argue otherwise. During the pandemic, federal officials admitted to nudging the public, using psychological tactics usually reserved for advertising or political campaigns to shape your decisions. This isn't education, it's manipulation. A key concern is the ever-tightening relationship between pharmaceutical giants, regulatory agencies, and the media. Take the case of the COVID-19 vaccines. The very companies responsible for making the drugs are also some of the largest sponsors of mainstream news programming. When was the last time you saw a thorough, critical report on Big Pharma on TV? Instead, media outlets seem to parrot the talking points of health officials. Anyone who challenged the narrative was often demonized, not debated. The CDC and FDA, supposedly watchdogs for public safety, faced a revolving door of employees who later went on to lucrative jobs at the very corporations they once regulated. Is it any wonder the public questions their motives? Let's zoom out for a second. This isn't just an American problem. In countries around the world, people are waking up to the ways their medical institutions have been politicized, captured by corporate interests, or simply failed to place patients before profits. The result? A global wave of populist health skepticism, a sentiment shared by everyone from truck drivers to tenured professors. Meanwhile, bureaucrats continue to insist that all skepticism is dangerous. But history suggests that without skepticism, real progress is impossible. Science moves forward by challenging assumptions, not blindly accepting them. When agencies stifle critics and punish dissenters, they undermine the very process they claim to defend. So where does this leave ordinary Americans? Increasingly, families feel forced to do their own research, seek second and third opinions, and sometimes even travel abroad to receive the treatments they believe are right for them. Medical decisions have become fraught, and trust, once the linchpin of our entire system, now seems like a relic of a bygone era. Of course, some in the establishment love to frame all criticism as anti-science. But in reality, the critique is deeply pro-science. Real science welcomes honest questions, it demands transparency, and it thrives on rigorous debate. The demand is not for less science, but for better science, and for trustworthy leadership. Consider, too, that many of the loudest critics of today's medical establishment are themselves doctors and scientists. These aren't random internet trolls. They're people with years of experience risking their reputations and careers to warn Americans and defend real medical ethics. Ask yourself, are they all quacks, or do they see problems the media won't acknowledge? If the establishment is so confident in its facts and recommendations, why not openly debate these professionals instead of canceling or ignoring them? Why is the answer always more censorship, never more discussion? Open public debate should be the standard, not the exception. The conversation doesn't end at vaccines or prescription drugs. Consider the explosion in diagnoses of mental health disorders in young people. Rates of conditions like ADHD, anxiety, and depression have soared. But do we ever pause to ask why, or question the pharmaceutical spend behind the promotion of these diagnoses and their lucrative drug treatments? Or think about the shifting standards on gender in medicine, controversies over irreversible treatments for minors, and heated debates about what follows the real science versus what is simply following social trends. When doctors and parents are forbidden, even under threat, to question these new norms, what happened to informed consent? All of this has left Americans with a dilemma. Should we trust yet another new guideline, recommendation, or wonder drug? Or do we step back, demand answers, and hold the system accountable? Our culture has put faith in so-called experts. But time and time again, those experts have betrayed that faith. Yet in every crisis, there's also opportunity. As trust in the establishment fades, Americans are reclaiming personal responsibility for their health and arming themselves with information. Communities are organizing to support health freedom. Alternative therapies, nutrition, and wellness ideas, once dismissed, are now being explored more openly than ever. But we shouldn't sugarcoat the risks. When public trust in medicine breaks down, misinformation can thrive, and real dangers can slip through the cracks. That's why transparency, accountability, and open dialogue are absolutely vital for patients, doctors, and every institution meant to serve us. So what's to be done? Solutions start with honesty. Our medical authorities must acknowledge past and present failures, address conflicts of interest, and return to the bedrock values of humility, service, and transparency. Only then can we begin to repair what's been lost. Courageous patients, doctors, and citizens have always been the true engine of reform. It's up to all of us to demand a system that serves the people, not corporate agendas or political elites. When we stand together for truth, there is nothing we can't achieve. So what do you think? Has the medical establishment completely betrayed your trust, or are there ways back from the brink? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get the conversation going, and tell us, what other topics should Factual America cover next? Your voice matters, and together, we can reclaim truth and accountability in all our institutions. Until next time, stay informed, stay free, and never stop asking questions.